Welcome to this open literary space, where novels are not read as a sequence of events, but as complete human experiences, lived slowly, understood in silence, and contemplated as life itself is contemplated. In your hands now is the novel East of Eden by the great American writer John Steinbeck, one of the most famous and profound novels of the 20th century, published in 1952. Steinbeck himself often considered it the pinnacle of his literary and humanistic project. This is a novel not written to entertain readers, but to confront humanity with an age-old question that never grows old. Who are we when we are left free? The text moves slowly, lingering over meaning, because East of Eden is not a book to be rushed. 1. Salinas Valley, the silent memory. Before humans appeared, the earth was already there. The Salinas Valley does not speak, yet it remembers. It knows drought as it knows fertility, and it stores in its soil a history longer than human lifespans. In East of Eden, the land is not merely a backdrop, it is a hidden character, resembling humanity, capable of giving, capable of cruelty, without explanation or apology. Steinbeck begins here because humans are not born into a vacuum, but into the embrace of a place that leaves a deep mark on the soul. Just as the land gives only under conditions, humans cannot grow without struggle. Section 2. The first roots of silent violence. 2. The Trask family, a childhood that never heals. Adam Trask does not enter the world carrying evil, nor complete good. He carries a void within. His childhood is a sequence of silent shocks, a harsh father, a weak brother, a home that does not know how to provide safety. Adam learns early to accept rather than understand, to be silent rather than ask questions. From this silence emerges his goodness, but it is incomplete goodness, unarmed with insight. He is the human who prefers to believe the world is good, rather than learn to see it as it truly is. Section 3. Cathy Ames. When evil is born complete. 3. A childhood that did not ask for mercy. Cathy Ames does not enter the novel as a victim, but as a pure dark force. From her childhood, she is different. She does not cry when expected to cry, nor feel guilt when harming others. Within her exists a cold void that requires no explanation. Steinbeck deliberately withholds a past that would justify her. No trauma, no abuse, no explicable event only. A harsh truth. Not all evil is understandable. For marriage as a trap when Cathy marries Adam, there is no union of souls, only the union of illusion with a harsh reality. Adam sees in her what he wants to see, not who she truly is. Cathy uses this moral blindness to do what she does best: control, manipulate, and escape. When she gives birth to twins, motherhood is not born, but alienation emerges. Then she leaves, abandoning a home without a center, and a man who loses his direction. Section 4. Adam, after the fall. 5. Emptiness instead of collapse. Adam does not scream after Cathy leaves. He does not rage or seek revenge. Instead, he falls into something more dangerous: existential indifference. He lives because he does not know how to stop, not because he desires life. He walks the land like a shadow walks. He breathes, but the soul is distant. Here, in this heavy silence, appears Lee 6. Lee, the wise observer of the unspeakable Lee, is not a servant in the social sense, but the novel's philosophical conscience. He masters the language of others to conceal his wisdom, yet when he speaks, the novel pauses to listen. He raises the twins and grants Adam what Adam could not give himself: attention. Section 5. The twins, humanity divided into possibilities. 7. Aron. Innocence. That cannot bear the world. Aron is born loved. Beauty and gentleness surround him effortlessly, but he does not learn struggle and does not know contradiction. He sees the world as black or white, unable to tolerate gray. 8. Cal. Anxiety as awareness. Cal, by contrast, perceives the shadow early. He feels he must do more to be seen, love more to be accepted. He lives under the weight of the question: am I evil because I feel jealousy? Section 6. Cain and Abel anew. 9. The story that repeats inside every human. Steinbeck does not retell the biblical story, but transforms it into an internal experience. The conflict is not only between two brothers, but between two aspects of the same soul, one that seeks acceptance without pain, and one that knows acceptance comes at a cost. Section 7. Timshel, the word that opens time. 10. Freedom as a burden. When the word Timshel is discussed, the novel ceases to be merely a story and becomes a long philosophical reflection. Thou mayest does not mean you will be saved, but that you are responsible. Freedom here is not a gift, but a constant trial. Section 8. The breaking point. 11. Truth as a weapon. Cal reveals the truth to Aron, not out of pure malice, but out of pain. He wants to show that innocence is not perfect, but Aron cannot bear the truth. He flees to war, where he dies. Section 9, the open ending 12. The final word. Adam lies on his deathbed. Cal waits for judgment. What he receives is neither condemnation nor forgiveness, but a single word, Timshel, meaning, the path is not yet closed. The great takeaway east of Eden is not a novel about good and evil, but about responsibility, about a human being who is not defined by their past, nor by their blood, but by their next choice. Thank you for accompanying this long text to its end. Deep reading is an act of loyalty to literature, and your support through sharing, commenting, or subscribing allows this kind of contemplative literary content to continue. To another reading, and another question no less profound.